On a bright morning in downtown Riverbend, a man named David Carter pushed open the glass doors of Riverbend Bank, a local financial institution known for its commitment to community service. Dressed simply in worn jeans, a plain shirt, and a faded red baseball cap, David wasn't just any customer, he was the owner of the bank, on a mission to see firsthand how his employees treated those they deemed ordinary. As David entered the lobby, he noted the quiet atmosphere, punctuated only by the hum of the air conditioning and the soft clicking of keyboards. 3 customers waited in plush chairs, absorbed in their phones, while colorful posters lining the walls proclaimed, "We support local businesses," and "Community First." David hoped these statements were more than just slogans, he wanted to see if they were reflected in the bank's operations. At the counter, 2 employees were at work, an older woman named Margaret Hughes, the branch manager with her neatly styled hair and tailored suit, and a younger man named Jake, who was arranging brochures with a nervous energy. David approached the counter, his heart racing slightly. "Good morning," he said, his voice steady. "I'm looking for information on a small business loan. I run a small furniture-making business and am hoping to expand." Margaret looked up, her eyes immediately narrowing at his cap. Her smile turned tight and professional. "Certainly, sir. Please have a seat at that desk over there," she gestured, her tone clipped. David felt a pang of disappointment but followed her direction, sitting at the small desk adorned with brochures showcasing happy families and successful business owners. He wanted to believe he would be treated as fairly as they appeared to be. Margaret joined him, her expression still formal. "What kind of expansion are we discussing?" she asked, but David sensed a reluctance behind her words. "I create custom furniture, tables, chairs, that sort of thing. I have a steady customer base, but I need better tools to grow. I was hoping the bank could assist me with a loan," he explained, trying to maintain an air of optimism. Margaret nodded slowly, but her gaze drifted to his cap. "We have certain standards for loan approvals. We require strong credit, proven income, and a solid growth plan," she stated, her tone implying that she already doubted his qualifications. David handed her a sheet with his basic financial details, wanting to see if she would at least try to help. Instead, Margaret frowned as she reviewed it. "I'm not seeing much collateral here, and your figures appear modest," she remarked, her tone dismissive. "I'm just starting out," David replied, frustration creeping into his voice. "That's why I need a loan to get off the ground." Margaret's smile tightened further. "I understand, but we must ensure profitability. Perhaps you could explore other lenders or approach family for assistance. This may not be the best fit." From the counter, Jake glanced over, concern on his face. Margaret," he said tentatively, "didn't we introduce a new program last quarter to help local artisans?" His voice trailed off, almost as if he feared her reaction. Margaret shot him a sharp look. "I'm aware of our offerings, Jake. But in this case, the application doesn't match the profile." David felt a quiet sting of anger and disappointment. The bank's slogans promised support, yet here he was, dismissed without consideration. "Thank you for your time," he said, forcing a polite smile as he stood to leave. As he passed the waiting area, one customer raised an eyebrow, having overheard parts of the conversation. The posters on the wall felt hollow now, devoid of meaning. Just as David reached the exit, Jake hurried after him. "Excuse me, sir," he called, his voice sincere. "I'm really sorry about that. If you'd like, I can show you some resources. Maybe we can find a solution or schedule another appointment with someone who specializes in artisan loans." David turned, surprised by Jake's kindness. There was a sincerity in his eyes that sparked hope. "Thank you," David replied softly. "I would appreciate that." As they moved to a quieter corner, David realized that at least one person in the bank cared about helping others. Jake explained, "I'm not a loan officer, but I know the bank's policies well. We do have programs for local craftsmen, though they're not heavily advertised." David nodded, grateful for Jake's willingness to assist. "I just want to ensure there's a fair process. I have plenty of ideas and am confident I can repay what I borrow." "I believe you," Jake said earnestly. "I've seen applications that are less solid than yours. At the very least, we should have explored the options." Margaret can be a bit selective about who she helps, often turning people away if they don't fit her idea of a good customer. David raised an eyebrow. "Selective?" Jake nodded. "It's not official policy, but I've seen her dismiss older couples or young individuals in casual attire. It seems like she only wants to help those who look successful or have a strong backing." David felt a mix of sadness and pride knowing that Jake still believed in the bank's mission. "Is there anyone else here who might give me a fair shake?" he asked. Jake thought for a moment. "There's an assistant manager, Mr. Patel, who might be more open-minded. He's on vacation now, but he'll return soon. If you can wait a week, I could try to get you an appointment with him." "I might take you up on that," David replied, feeling a glimmer of hope. "Thank you for your honesty. It's refreshing." As they exchanged contact information, David reflected on how Jake's integrity shone through in stark contrast to Margaret's dismissive attitude. Days later, David returned to the bank, this time dressed in a sharp suit. He wanted to see how things operated without the disguise. As he entered the bank, he noticed Margaret greeting customers with a smile that seemed forced. Jake was at the counter, assisting a couple, exuding genuine care and patience. When Margaret approached David, she didn't recognize him from before. "Good morning. How can we help you today?" she asked, her demeanor bright. David cleared his throat. "I'm considering moving my savings account here and exploring investment options," he replied, testing her service based on appearance. Margaret's tone shifted, and she eagerly led him to a desk to discuss various offers. David felt a mix of disappointment and realization. She had the skill to provide excellent service, but only when she deemed a customer worthy. As he left, he decided to return one final time, this time without a disguise. Accompanied by members of the compliance team, he walked into the bank, exuding authority. Margaret's friendly demeanor faltered as she recognized David. "Mr. Carter," she stammered, her face pale. "I had no idea you were coming." David addressed the staff, explaining the purpose of his visit and how he had observed their operations. He praised Jake for his dedication and expressed disappointment in Margaret's biased treatment of customers. Margaret apologized, and David placed her on probation, ensuring that her lending decisions would be monitored closely. He encouraged Jake's growth within the organization, emphasizing the importance of fairness for all customers. As David left the bank, he felt a sense of accomplishment. He had sparked change, instilling a culture of integrity and support in Riverbend Bank. The journey was far from over, but he knew the bank's mission would now be upheld, ensuring that every customer was treated with respect and fairness. A deeper dive into change. After his initial undercover visits, David took a few days to reflect on what he had learned. He reviewed the bank's mission statement and felt a renewed sense of purpose. It was clear that the bank's values were not being upheld consistently, and he was determined to address this. During the following days, David reached out to community leaders and small business owners in Riverbend, gathering insights about their experiences with the bank. Many shared stories of feeling overlooked or dismissed based on their attire or the nature of their businesses. It was a troubling pattern that reinforced David's resolve to create a more inclusive environment. David organized a meeting with his corporate team to discuss the findings from his undercover visits. He brought together department heads and the compliance team to brainstorm strategies for ensuring that all employees understood the importance of equitable service. They decided to implement mandatory training sessions focused on unconscious bias and customer service excellence. Meanwhile, he continued to monitor the branch's performance through reports and metrics. He wanted to ensure that any changes made were effective and that the bank's commitment to inclusivity was not just a fleeting initiative. David understood that real change required ongoing effort and accountability. When Mr. Patel returned from vacation, David arranged a meeting to discuss the future of the branch. "I want us to create an environment where every customer feels valued," David said, sharing his vision for the bank. "We need to ensure that our policies reflect our values." Mr. Patel nodded, clearly aligned with David's mission. "I'm on board, David. We can implement a customer feedback system to gauge how well we're meeting our goals. If we can catch issues early, we can address them before they escalate." Together, they devised a plan that included regular audits of customer interactions and feedback sessions with staff. They aimed to create a culture where employees felt empowered to speak up about biases they observed and where customers could share their experiences without fear of reprisal. As the weeks progressed, David kept a close eye on the branch. He visited regularly, often unannounced, to see how changes were taking root. Jake continued to shine, helping customers with genuine care and attention. David was proud to see that Jake had taken on a mentorship role, guiding newer employees in providing equitable service. One day, David decided to host an open forum for the community at the bank. He invited local business owners, artists, and residents to come share their thoughts and experiences with the bank. The turnout was impressive, and the stories shared were eye-opening. Margaret attended the forum, visibly uncomfortable but determined to listen. As customers spoke about their needs and the support they sought, David noticed a shift in her demeanor. She began to understand the impact of her actions, recognizing that her biases had affected real lives. After the event, David approached Margaret. "Thank you for being here today. I hope you found it enlightening." She sighed, a mixture of regret and determination in her eyes. "I did, David. I realize now how important it is to listen. I want to do better." David smiled, seeing the potential for growth. "This is a journey for all of us. Let's work together to ensure that every customer feels valued. I'm here to support you." As the months passed, the culture at Riverbend Bank transformed. Customers began to share positive experiences, and the bank's reputation in the community improved. David felt a profound sense of achievement, knowing that he had helped create a more inclusive and supportive environment. The relationship between David, Jake, and Margaret evolved into a partnership focused on continuous improvement. They held regular meetings to discuss progress and challenges, ensuring that the bank remained aligned with its mission. In time, David realized that his undercover visits had not only uncovered issues but had also sparked a movement toward positive change. He had learned that true leadership involved listening, understanding, and being willing to adapt. As he stood in the bank one bright morning, watching customers walk in with smiles, David felt a wave of pride. The journey was far from over, but he knew that Riverbend Bank was now a place where every customer would be treated with dignity and respect, no matter their background or appearance. In the end, it was not just about the bank's mission statement, it was about making those words a living reality in every interaction, ensuring that the community truly came first. David had set out to change the culture of the bank, and in doing so, he had transformed the community around it, proving that change is possible when one person decides to make a difference.